Hello and welcome to Varsity Maine Live, presented by Central Maine Power. For the Portland Press Herald, I am Travis Lazarzik. Tonight I am joined by a first-timer from the Lewiston Sun-Journal, the sports editor, Mr. Lee Horton. Lee, thanks for being here for the first time.
Yeah.
And longtime watchers of the show remember Michael Hoffer from The Forecaster. Guys, thanks for being here. Our guest is also a first-timer. He is a first-year head coach at Lewiston High School. As a player at Lewiston High School in 1987, he had 3 sacks in the fourth quarter of the 1987 Class A state championship football game when the Blue Devils beat Mount Blue. Now in his first year coaching the Blue Devils, he's coming off, and this isn't hyperbole, the biggest win in Lewiston football in quite a few years, beating Scarborough last week. Jason Varsity, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
You knew when you took the job last winter that you had a little bit of a rebuild. It's been since, I think, 2011 since Lewiston's had a winning record, and 2010 is the last time the Blue Devils won a playoff game. What does a win that, like the one you guys had this week, over a perennial power like Scarborough, kind of do to help that process and, give the program the confidence that it kind of needs?
So for us, it just helps solidify a belief that we've been talking about from the beginning. When I got this group back in the winter, our weight room session started, our winter sessions, our spring sessions, right into our summer sessions. And right away, I felt like I had a really solid group of kids, dedicated, hungry, tired of losing, looking to be built into and create a positive culture and environment. And I'm more than willing to do that because, I know what a solid, healthy culture can do for a football program. And it really starts with me spending an enormous amount of time with them, getting to know them, letting them know how much I care about them and really spend the time with them. I tell my kids, you get out what you put in and you reap what you sow. And it's worked and that wisdom has worked for me as well because I've spent a lot of time with them and I got to know these kids, and these kids are me. I grew up in this community. We come from a beautifully diverse community here in Lewiston. It is, I think it's a special group of kids that were just hungry for some real positive leadership, honestly.
And on the field, is this kind of? Did you think you'd be at this point 4 games into the season, or what was your expectations for the first month of the season?
My expectation was that we compete at a high level at all times. My expectation is that we have a champion mindset, that we work against and compete against ourselves every day, and whoever they put in front of us, we've got to go ahead and fight the fight. That's why we play the game. And quite honestly, when I took over this program, I knew what I needed to do, and really is to rebuild their spirit, minds, and body as it relates to how they believe and what they believe. And because I have a lot of pride in this football program. I mean, like it was mentioned, I was a part of the last state championship team here. All I know is winning at Lewiston, and that didn't stop with me in '87. It's and I remind our kids every day, we come from a perennial program. We have more state championships than any school in Maine, 18, I believe. And that's who we are, and that's who we'll continue to be. And as long as I can, honestly believe that and have them believe that, anything is possible. And we proved that last week. Our kids were focused. They worked hard all week. They're not going to shy away from any kind of team, just like we're not going to shy away from, this Saturday against Oxford Hills. We're going to give them everything we got. And, that's why we play the game. And with these guys starting to believe in who they are and what they are and where they come from, and all I had to do was remind them, they're buying in. And when a team buys in and starts playing for each other and, has a desire and a belief that they can win, anything can happen.
Yeah, Coach, congrats on that win last week. And I mean, your passion is shining through here. You make me want to suit up. Do you need a backup punter or something for this week?
I'll take it.
Because that's about all I could offer, and I doubt I'd even do that very well. But, this has been such a unique year in that every week we think we have things figured out, and we realize come the early wee hours of Saturday morning, we don't have any clue really of what's going on. 2 weeks ago, you got beat by a great Levitt team, maybe the best team in all of the state. Last week, you turn around and you have a decisive win over a very good Scarborough team. How do you sustain that in a year where, 1 week you look great, the next week you don't? The Scarborough win means nothing if you turn around this weekend and don't play well.
Right. And honestly, I'm very proud of our kids because we have a mantra around here, and that's, and I set it up that way from the beginning because, look, we're going to have adversity. Last thing I want is our kids to go in the tank and feel like, oh, this is the same old Lewiston team. We lose a football game. We lose our opener to Sanford. But from the beginning, I said, fall down 7, stand up 8. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened on the last play. You fall down 7, you stand up 8. And that has caught on. It really has. So our kids want to compete. They want to work hard. They want to play for each other. We really do believe in this kind of family atmosphere. That's what I grew up with. That's what I brought back here. Family for us is an acronym. It means family stands for forget about me, I love you. So these kids are playing for each other. They're playing. It's their program. And I told them that from the beginning. I said, look, guys, I'm a brother. I'm a Blue Devil brother, just like you guys are my brothers, just a little younger. Okay, and we can take this any way you want. But at the end of the day, this is your program. What do you want from it? And these kids have stepped up. They have taken control of this program. They have taken practice very serious. They work very hard, and they are determined. And I would not, I just wouldn't count them out because I've been inspired by them as well. Their hard work, their determination, and their ability to have some adversity and get back up again. And that has really resonated with this group of kids. And I couldn't be more proud. The bottom line is we could have a bad game. We could have a great game too. But the bottom line is, if just like in football and in life, when you have some adversity, you fall down, you got to get back up again. And that's what I'm teaching our kids to do. And long after they hang up their cleats, they'll remember that. And that's my hope.
Coach, you've mentioned guys like Skip Capone and other coaches you had were father figures to you. Yeah. What are some of the things you learned from the coaches like that you're trying to instill in your team now? It sounds like you were just kind of talking a lot about it.
Yeah. So, the days of a transactional coach, what you do for me and I like you, that type of thing just doesn't work. It has never worked. Guys like Ted Moshe, Skip Capone, Dave Bachler, these men built into you and they believed in you. And when you come from where I come from, downtown Lewiston, you don't have a lot of self-esteem. You don't have much. You might not have clothes. You might not have food. You might not have. And these guys out of their own means would feed me, would buy me cleats, would love me and give me some self-esteem. And so that's a transformational coach. That's not a transactional coach. I choose to be a transformational coach where I want to get to know every player, from the top player to the freshman player who's never played before. It's about impacting their lives in a positive way so that they can make a difference someday in somebody else's life. It's about paying it forward. And so this is why I coach today. I coached because, I was coached. And not just coached, but loved and cared for and believed in. And I have done some great things in my life. I've earned a tremendous amount of money. I've traveled the country. I've traveled the world. And then finally was able to come back home after 20 years. And knowing what I know out there, having a belief in yourself and the ability to understand the power of the why not me attitude, you can do just about anything. So I want to impart some wisdom on my kids now, not wait till they're 30 to understand that when you fall down 7, you stand up 8. When you reap what you sow, you get out what you put in. These are little things that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, and some things that were instilled in me when I was younger. Those things were discipline, pride, enthusiasm. If you have those things in life, you can do anything. If you have pride and discipline and enthusiasm, you'll do well in your job. You'll do well in your marriage. You'll do well raising your kids. I mean, these are little simple things that were taught to me that I feel are very important and stand the test of time, and they need to be shared on for the next generation of young men.
Yeah, kind of go along with that. You talked about rebuilding their spirits, and in Class A, the difficult thing has been since they switched to the 18 Class A is 3 or 4 teams have been competing for championships, and that's left like Edward Little and Lewiston kind of forced to rebuild while also getting destroyed, week in and week out, kind of. So like, how you rebuilt their spirit and kind of what have you noticed in their growth in that area?
So it has to be 3 things. You got to build this spirit, mind, and body. And, you win in the gym and you win in the off season, honestly. And I told my kids that early. So the weight room is absolutely essential to our future success and our success now. It's a big part of what we do now. So there's the body piece. The spirit piece is, having a certain a sacrificial spirit and believing in it's going to take a little time. You're going to have to put in the work. You get out what you put in. So, the tenements of sacrifice have been around since the beginning of antiquity, right? So it's like, okay, that if you give up something of lesser value, you can gain something of greater value. So sacrifice is important. So now they understand they have to sacrifice. That means they got to get up at 6 a.m. If they want to be a champion, they're going to have to get up at 6 a.m. and work out, and they're going to have to do their schoolwork. And honestly, they're just going to have to put in the work in order to get what they really want. And if they want a state championship, then they're going to have to put in the work. So the expectation is there that I want them to aspire to do great things. I say greatness is out there. You just have to step into it, which means you've got to put in the work. So spiritually, bodily wise, you take care of the body piece by making sure that I'm invested in them, working out at 6 a.m. with them 3 days a week and all through the summer. And it is a huge investment in my time and my energy during the off season, but I know it's necessary in order for us to be successful. I think that's been a huge missing piece in this football program, not having a strength program for the last few years. And we are regimented. We work hard. And I tell them everything that you put in now is going to show up next in the fall, and it has, and so they have to be patient with me and understand that I'm playing chess. I'm telling them, look, if you do this, this will happen, and now they're starting to believe it, and now they're getting this kind of great result. So it's important that also they know that I care about them and that I love them. And that I'm there for them. I'm there for a 10 p.m. phone call. Someone's sick or not going to make practice, or one of my kids' father, is in jail and he needed money to call his dad. Or it's just being there for them. It's letting them know that you care about them, and then all of a sudden it's reciprocal, right? They start knowing that you care about them, and then they want to play for you. And if they know that you love them, it's magical. And all my kids know that I care deeply about them because of what football has done for me in my life and how I know it can truly impact their lives. So yeah, spirit, mind, and body. Train them the best way you possibly can in all aspects. That's how you rebuild a program. You create a culture of a we, not me, a family environment where we're looking to sacrifice, because that's life, right? When you're a husband or you're a parent, it's sacrificial. That's family. Forget about me. I love you. That's our motto. We are one, unity, oneness, because that's what this community needs, quite honestly. And so we preach those tenements day in and day out. And I believe that it's really creating, something special. And that's how you rebuild the program, in my opinion. Now, if we don't win a game, I'm fine with that. But these kids are starting to become really good citizens. They're going to school. They're staying eligible. They're working hard. Winning is a byproduct of a healthy culture. And so my first duty was to create a positive, healthy culture that builds into kids, and it's a transformational relational experience and not a transactional one.
Coach, the present is looking very good for you guys. The future is certainly very promising. I want to take you back for a minute. And, Travis alluded at the top of the show, the role you played in that 1987 state championship game.
Yeah, to go deep in the archives to get that.
Hey, but that's something that's worth talking about even all these years later, especially a history nerd like me. What did that game do for you, your confidence, and the direction that your life took?
I will tell you that was probably the most important moment of my life. Football up to that point was very special, being a starter early on as a sophomore, and then my junior year going to a state championship, but also having the game of my life, where it's a very cold, bitterly cold game. It's like -5 degrees. It's freezing. We had a really solid run game, and they had to go to the air to compete. And in the fourth quarter, he was able to say I had 3 sacks, which was it's phenomenal. So that catapulted me into that solidified me as someone who was serious about playing football. Colleges started looking at me. I became captain my senior year, and we lost to Thornton Academy in the semifinal my senior year by 1 point, 21-20, devastating. But all that one moment is the moment that I want for these kids. Like football, that took me on a totally different trajectory in my life of belief. I was able to, I went to Springfield College after a few colleges looked at me, Plymouth State, Ithaca. I wanted to play Division II football because I thought I could, and I went to Springfield. But, a kid like me growing up where I grew up, $17,000 a year at that time, that was a pipe dream. But I believed I could do it, and I believed I could because of the success that I had early on in my life playing football. And, honestly, that's when I talk about the power of belief, it will literally change someone's life, good or bad. Honestly, whatever you believe, honestly finds a way of manifesting in one's life. And I want these kids to understand that having good things happen, you can always build on those. We say, don't worry about the bad things. There's grace and forgiveness for mistakes that we've made. But, the good things, build on those. Because if you did it once, you can do it again. And, so that was a great, it was just a wonderful time in my life. We still talk as a team. We came together at the 25 year. I still have amazing friendships, a brotherhood, if you will, of guys that continue to have great relationships with, that were on that football team. And I tell these guys every day that once you're a Blue Devil, you're always a Blue Devil. So it made a huge difference in my life, Michael. Honestly, I can't lie. That was a huge self-esteem booster and carried me on into the next year and just made me a believer that I could be special, just like I think all these kids could be special.
Great. That's a good place for this to end. Coach Jason Varsity from Lewiston High School, thanks for joining us tonight, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Good luck, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have
Skip Capone wore short shorts to that championship game, like those short.
I have no idea.
Those 80s coaches shorts. He was wearing those.
He's probably wearing them right now.
I bet he is.
All right. We have athletes of the week, and we will start with one of Coach Varsity's players, Eli Bigelow from Lewiston football. He scored 4 touchdowns and finished with 334 yards of total offense, including 208 yards rushing on 13 carries in that victory over Scarborough. Maddie Niles from Lawrence Field Hockey. She scored 4 goals in the Bulldogs' 7-1 win over Winslow on Tuesday, and she had 3 goals and 2 assists in a 6-0 win over MCI Saturday. Michael McGonigal from Yarmouth football. He had a season in a night. He rushed for 433 yards and 5 touchdowns on 47 carries to help the Clippers improve to 4-0 with a 50-46 win over MDI. Olivia Maston from Spruce Mountain Field Hockey. She contributed a goal and an assist in each of the Phoenix 3 games against some of the other top teams in Class C. Mohammed Gabal from Lewiston Boys Soccer. He tallied 3 goals and 2 assists in wins over Oxford and Hamden. Lee, this Lewiston team had an early loss to Camden Hills, but they're back to rolling again, aren't they?
Yeah, and they have a pretty balanced offense. Several players who can score. Seems like every week there's a different player who could be the player of the week nominee. Mohammed Gabal is a strong player with a good shot, and they've been great. And then Edward Little on the other side, undefeated. They're only blemish tied to Lewiston. So those 2 teams haven't settled anything, and they won't the season finale on October 18th. It's going to be a good one.
Thank you. Elizabeth Talbot, Wyndham Girls Soccer. She scored the game-winning goal with less than a second remaining in overtime to lift the Eagles to a 3-2 win over Sanford. Haley Tuplin from Lisbon Field Hockey. She scored both goals, including the game winner in double OT against Spruce Mountain, and she contributed a goal and an assist in a win over Booth Bay. Caden Schließ-Human, Coney football. Caden, if I pronounced that incorrectly, I apologize. He ran for 147 yards and scored 3 touchdowns in an impressive 34-10 win against defending B North champion Wyndham. Brooke Farquhar from Gorham Field Hockey, she scored 3 goals and had 3 assists in the Rams' 9-0 win over Portland Deering. Nick Laughlin from Cape Elizabeth football, he scored 5 touchdowns in a 41-13 win at South Portland. Laughlin had only 10 offensive touchdowns, but gained over 300 all-purpose yards, scoring on an 84-yard kick return, a 10-yard catch, and runs of 4, 87, and 90 yards. And he intercepted a pass just to round things out. Michael, Steve Craig and I were in the office the other day kicking around names for the Fitzpatrick Trophy, and Nick's was the first one we came up with.
And for good reason. I mean, he was phenomenal. Not only did he do all the things that you described, he kicks off as well. So he literally is involved in all aspects of the game. He had a terrific season as a junior, helping Cape win their first championship. Maybe the only thing working against Nick Laughlin as a Fitzy, perhaps a Fitzy winner this year, is the fact that his teammate Caden McDuffie won it last year. I don't know how often players from the same school have won it in consecutive years. Not that that should matter, but perhaps that might matter in the minds of some. But he literally does it all. His coach, Sean Green, who's coached all levels, says Nick Laughlin's simply the best football player he's ever coached. He's hungry. That team is hungry. They had that early loss to Wells, but they're really starting to put it together. They have a showdown at Leavitt next week. They have to get through Westbrook first, but that's going to be a very entertaining game coming up down the road.
Okay, thank you. Samantha Moore, Portland cross country in a 4-school SMAA meet at Smiling Hill Farm in Westbrook. Moore won individual honors with a time of 18 minutes, 59 seconds over a 5K course. Her closest pursuer in the field finished 49 of 49, I should say, finished a minute 50 behind her. Addie Watson, Marana Cook girls soccer. Watson scored 3 goals in a 5-0 win over Erskine. Colin Scully from Massabesic football, the senior quarterback, rushed for 142 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also threw a 39-yard touchdown pass in Friday's convincing 34-6 Class B South win at Marshwood. Massabesic is now 3-1 and hosts Class A Scarborough this week. And finally, Angel Huntsman, NYA girls soccer. Huntsman, of the defending Class D state champion NYA, had a goal and an assist in the Panthers' 4-1 win over Yarmouth. It was NYA's first ever win over their Class B crosstown rival. Those are this week's Athletes of the Week. Congratulations to all. The Varsity Maine polls this week, you can check these out at varsitymaine.com. We'll go through the top 5 in each sport, but there are 10 in each poll. We'll start with boys soccer, guys. Number 1, again, Scarborough with 4 first-place votes and 61 points. Number 2 is South Portland. They picked up a first-place vote with 53 points. Number 3, Edward Little with 50 points. Number 4, Deering with a first-place vote and 49 points. Number 5, Yarmouth with a first-place vote and 45 points. This is a bunched-up top 10 poll this week. And Lee, Edward Little making his appearance in here for the first time in a long time. What can you tell us about the Red Eddies?
They're very similar to Lewiston. A lot of good players who can score and do other. I mean, obviously defense too, but a balanced team, and it's a lot like the Lewiston team so far. And like I said, they're both on a collision course for the end of the season, towards the end of the season.
Yeah, that game should settle a lot in Class A North for sure.
Yeah.
Girls soccer, number 1, still Scarborough with 5 first-place votes and 67 points. Number 2, Gorham picking up a couple first-place votes, 62 points. I saw the Rams yesterday for a story I'll have for next week about their resurgence this year. Was supposed to kind of be a rebuilding year with 5 sophomores starting, but the Rams are right back there at the top of Class A South. Number 3 is Cape Elizabeth with 56 points. Marshwood's number 4 at 46. And rounding out the top 5, Mount Blue with 40. Michael, we'll kind of learn a little more about Class A South this weekend when Scarborough and Marshwood play on Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's a great game. You know, kind of like the Marshwood boys a year ago, who in a sense came out of nowhere and won a surprise title. The girls are following a similar script right now. They're undefeated. Scarborough's undefeated. They just beat TA tonight. They get a measure of revenge anyway for last year's playoff loss. But Scarborough already has that big win down at Wyndham. Unfortunately, Scarborough and Gorham do not play in the regular season. So if that matchup comes, it's probably going to come deep in the playoffs. And even look down the heels a little bit. Teams like Cheverus, Falmouth. Falmouth was, I think, ranked 12th coming into today's game where they won at Cheverus. There's a lot of dangerous teams, so I think you'll see some upsets, but those teams, those top 3-4 teams are going to be really tough to dislodge.
Yeah, and Gorham does not play Marshwood either.
Yeah.
So You know they're keeping their eye on that game Saturday.
Absolutely.
All right. Field hockey, number 1, Cheverus, no doubt. 6 first-place votes, all of them with 60 points. Number 2, Skowhegan with 54 points. Number 3, Biddeford with 47. 4, York at 36 points. And number 5, Scarborough at 34. Michael, go back to you. Yeah. Cheverus pretty much erased any doubt. If there was any doubt, there shouldn't have been this week with wins over Scarborough and Biddeford that they are the best team in the state.
Absolutely. And not only are they the best team in the state, and I know Skowhegan's going to have something to say about it, and we shouldn't disrespect that incredibly proud program, and they would love nothing more than another shot at Cheverus. But at least for now, Cheverus, the defending champs, all eyes are on them. You know, they outscored the opposition 99-9 last year en route to an 18-0 first ever championship season. This year in just 9 games, it's 79-2. And they might not only be the best team this year, you know, if they go on and finish the job this season, I think you could stake the claim that they're maybe the best team ever. They've got some work to do, certainly, but with the Johnson sisters, the way they play, the goals they score, every goal last night in that win at Biddeford was a highlight reel goal. It was just something to marvel at. And, you know, they welcome these games where they're supposed to get pushed. And, you know, if this was a test, you'd say they passed it with flying colors, and they got grades that I could never imagine when I was in college.
Definitely. And finally, with football, number 1 again, Oxford Hills with 7 of the 8 first place votes and 79 points. Number 2, Levitt picking up that other first place vote and 70 points. Number 3, Skowhegan at 67 points. Number 4, Thornton Academy at 54 points. And number 5, Bonnie Eagle at 39. Lee, this Levitt team has played a brutal schedule. Got another tough game with a team from a higher class in Class B, Lawrence, this weekend. But they just seem to keep answering the question every week. How good are they?
So every week I'm like, every week I say, this is the test for them, and then they win by 40 points. And so I don't even know what to expect out of this Lawrence game, because Lawrence seems like they're a pretty tough team, but so did Wells and York and Lewiston and Portland. Yeah. They
just don't, and none of these games have been close. That's the thing.
Yeah, right. They've just been blowouts from the beginning. The first game I ever covered in Maine was that they lost to Westbrook, and they lost by a couple touchdowns. But you notice that, I noticed that clearly Levitt was a well-coached team, and they knew what they were doing. They just didn't have the players that year. And every year, reload with different guys in different spots, and you know, their little brothers, their cousins are coming up and filling in the spots. Just they're loaded with talent all the way across the board. Offense, defense, line, skill players. It's just amazing.
Okay. Thank you. Big games coming up this week. I've got one tomorrow night that I'm looking forward to in Class B South football. Portland at Biddeford. Biddeford's 3-1, and they've scored at least 34 points every game. Portland's 1-3, but it's probably the most deceptive 1-3 in the state because they've played such a tough schedule. We mentioned that game to Levitt, and they played Class A Bonnie Eagle and lost only 12-8. Played Class A number 1 Oxford Hills and only lost 28-16. So this is a Portland team that's got to be better than their record indicates. And going to Biddeford is never an easy place to play. So this should be a really good midseason game. Lee, any game you're looking forward to in the Lewiston area coming up this week?
I'm intrigued to see what happens on Saturday between Lewiston and Oxford Hills. I picked off Oxford Hills to win, and it seems like that's probably a safe bet. But I also thought that last week with Scarborough. But just to see where Lewiston stacks up. They have those big players like Eli Bigelow. It's kind of like a 3-point shooter in the NCAA tournament where when they get going, it's hard. They can slay the beast sometime.
Sure. So, Michael, how about you?
I mean, there's really some compelling matchups. How does Scarborough bounce back against Massabesic? Does Massabesic keep their incredible run going? You know, Cape Scott, Westbrook with Levitt on the docket the following week. Are they going to be caught looking ahead? Falmouth Wyndham is a very compelling game in Class B North. I mean, we don't really talk about that region too much, but yes, Skowhegan is undefeated, but you've got several other teams nipping at their heels, including a Coney team that beat Wyndham already. So, you know, Class B is just wild and wide open. It's going to be fascinating to see how that all comes together. You know, we're halfway through the regular season. What's going to happen over the next month? Because this last month's been so unpredictable.
Definitely. All right. We'd like to remind you to check out varsitymaine.com for all your high school sports needs in Maine. Also check out the pressherald.com, sunjournal.com, forecaster and .com, and centralmaine.com. For Lee, for Michael, for Coach Versity, I'm Travis. Thanks for watching us on Varsity Maine Live.